What's up guys, and welcome back into another video. What I would have done different if I had started all over again training 10 years ago. There's a lot of things I've learned. One of the things I've put the most time in by far. So if you want to get to your destination, reach goals faster, then strap up your seat. Have a good straight posture, take out your notes and listen up. So first thing I would have done differently if I had started all over again 10 years ago is I focused way too much on quantity. I always thought that doing more was better. But what you want to do instead is you want to focus on the quality. And I see a lot of other people make the same mistake as well. They're going to the gym and they just want to finish their workout kind of as fast as possible, thinking if I'm just gonna push through all these things, then that's gonna lead to making more results. And that leads to having poor quality. So people just swing the weight, they don't have a lot of control. But the one thing you always want to have is a good tempo and time under tension. So you would be much better off focusing on quality instead of quantity. Alright? If you do one set with great intensity and great quality, that's gonna be more valuable than 10 sets or a whole week of training a muscle group that most people in the gym are doing. So you want to isolate the muscle, have it under great tension and make sure that the quality is there. We'll dive a bit deeper into this point later. Second thing I would have done differently is I focused way too much on nutrition, and I see lots of people making the same mistake. There's problem awareness in general with nutrition. People think that they're not reaching their goals because their nutrition is not what it should be, right? Which is true. There's always improvement in all fields, but there's no problem awareness when it comes to training. And training includes much more, and it's much harder to nail down to the coffin than nutrition is, right? So I would focus on nutrition, trying to improve all of that until I really nailed my nutrition down. And then I still didn't get the results that I wanted. And I was looking, okay, yeah, maybe my attention and focus has been in the wrong area. Maybe I have to focus more on the training side of things. And then I started to pivot my focus into that direction and dived into all of that. And then, man, I just ended up into a crazy rabbit hole. And that leads into the third point, is that people misunderstand what it takes to grow a muscle from a training stimulus point of view. For example, I would do bench press. And when I would do bench press and I would bench 100 kg for 5 reps, my chest was bigger than when I would bench press 160 kg for 5 reps. And it took me a long time to get from 100 kg to 160, and my goal was always to prioritize muscle building. And I thought, well, a stronger muscle is always going to be a bigger muscle. But then it just got smaller, and I got thinking, why is that the case? But it is not about the weight that you can move, it's about the quality of the load on the muscle. Another perspective on this matter, if I were to ask you, what is the difference between a powerlifter and someone who trains for aesthetics, bodybuilding, fitness? And you would probably say something like rep ranges. So like 1 to 6 reps is for strength, so that's for powerlifting, and like 8 to 12 is for muscle building, and 12 plus is for endurance. Muscle mass grows in 3 to 40 reps, so it's something else. And the thing is, in powerlifting, the goal is to move as much weight as possible, obviously within the rules of a powerlifting federation, so it counts, but the goal is to move weight, right? The goal is to do the exercise. Whereas with fitness and bodybuilding, the goal is to put the right amount of load and tension, quality load and tension, on the muscle. So the goal is to stimulate the muscle, and the exercise and the weight is only a tool to do that. It's a very big difference. So you look from a surface level into what are the differences between, for example, powerlifting and fitness/bodybuilding, then it looks very similar. But when you dive a little bit deeper and understand, okay, what goes into growing a muscle, then you will see that it's entirely different. And within fitness/bodybuilding, that load on the muscle needs to increase over time, and weight is only a tool to do that. And there's other things involved when it comes to muscle building. So for example, you want to make the muscle you're training the only limiting factor within the movement. That means that no other muscle group should get involved or limit the ability to stimulate the muscle that you want to stimulate, that you want to target. Alright, so the muscle you want to hit needs to be the only limiting factor. And then another thing is full range of motion, right? And bench press doesn't have any of this. The more technically I would start to bench and build my bench up from 100 kg to 160, the more I would use my legs, the more I would try to like bend the bar as a powerlifter and use my back and everything but my chest to move that weight, right? So I was too much oriented on, okay, performing the exercise. The exercise is the end goal. I want to lift more weight, and as a result the muscle becomes stronger, then I'll get bigger. But what I was just actually doing is I was less and less isolating that muscle, less and less quality load on the muscle that led to that increase in weight. But as a result, my chest only got smaller because I was only using more and more other muscle groups instead. So I was using a lot of leg drive, very technically, poor range of motion, a lot of arching, distance to the bar was very small. And I thought that, okay, if I'm just gonna hit with the bar in my chest and go up, that's full range of motion. But full range of motion is not measured by distance. So if I hit my chest with the bar, that would be full range of motion, but it's not. Full range of motion is going from fully extended position of the muscle to the fully shortened position. Right, so it's measured in degrees and not by distance. In degrees, from full extension to full flexion of that muscle. And an exercise like bench press doesn't have that. And this leads into the next point. Within the first 6 years, I was so focused on I need to do everything myself. So I was putting a lot of hours, a lot of dedication in my spare time into reading books, into trying different things, putting together different programs, to figuring out what works best for me on a trial and error basis. And then after 6 years, I still wasn't where I wanted to be. So eventually I decided, okay, you know what, I am going to take on a coach because I just don't know what to do anymore. And I've always been kind of naive. People would say, okay, you've reached your natural limit. What you want to achieve is not attainable naturally. And I always thought, I don't know enough. I don't know enough. I need to just apply better knowledge, because I noticed every time I did, my progress would start to go up again. And then I would hit another plateau. And it didn't matter how consistent I was, how much I was doing, as long as I didn't apply a better knowledge, I wouldn't get through that plateau and make more gains again. So after 6 years, I was like, I don't know what to do anymore. You know, I'm just gonna put my ego aside. I'm gonna take on a coach. And I took on a very knowledgeable, good coach. And then an entire world opened up in front of me. Like, man, I was so wrong all the time, and that's kind of the problem in this industry. There's so much information available, and a lot of it is just straight up BS, and some of it isn't. But then you don't know how to utilize it and use it to your advantage, when to do what, to what extent, which amounts. All these type of detailed things matter a lot, and I would have never gotten it right without a coach. So when I took on a coach, my progress just went through the roof. Absolutely insane. And then I thought, man, if I had just done this from the beginning, why have I been so stubborn to think that I have to be fully self-made and I didn't do this earlier? Because I just could have saved 6 years of my time. Like literally the point where I am with my physique right now, I could have been 6 years ago. I'm 26, I could have been at this point at 20 years old. And the next point is, there is a big difference between hitting a workout and training focused with a concrete, solid plan and approach that fits around you and your unique situation. You can train to feel good, you can train to get the endorphins going, to increase mood, to increase quality of sleep, and all these type of things. So these are all these intrinsic motivational type of things. You can train for all these reasons, right? But that doesn't mean that will lead to results. Consistency is not enough. So you can train for 6+ years like myself, but it doesn't mean that you will also make a crazy amount of progress. And this is the reason why you don't see me post, try this workout in your next leg day, pull day, back day, or whatever on Instagram, like you see many other influencers do. It's because it doesn't lead to results. You need to have a tailor-made plan that fits around you and stick to that for a longer period of time. An interesting story. If an astronaut goes into space, within 3 months, he will lose like 30 to 50% of his muscle mass, and also lose a significant amount, I think it was approximately 20% of his bone mass. Don't quote me exactly on these numbers because I haven't seen them in 4 or 5 years, but I think it was something amongst those numbers within that realm. So what happens is, in space, the astronaut, he doesn't have the gravitational load that he has on Earth. Because of lack of gravity, because of lack of load, his body starts to deteriorate and becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. Atrophy. And what we want to do in the gym is do the opposite. We want to increase the load over time on the muscle. It has to be with quality, and as a result our body will start to become bigger. Hypertrophy. Now this doesn't happen by accident, by just consistently showing up. You need to have a solid, concrete plan tailored around your unique situation. So you basically need to optimize, and there's a big misconception around optimization. People think that optimization means more restriction and more dedication, living more and more to a monk life, monk mode type of lifestyle to get more results, but that's absolutely not true. It's just applying better knowledge over time. Let's talk about work itself. I heard Alex Hormozi say this the other day and I thought it was very interesting. So what is work? The scientific definition for work is force times distance, but this doesn't apply to knowledge workers, and for those people it would be work is input, the time spent doing something, but that is not true either. Then is it effort? Is it the amount of effort I put in that makes work better? So if I just try harder, and work is not effort either. Trying harder is not going to lead to more results. So if it's not either of those three things, then what is it? Work is output. So number of times you do something times the amount that you get out of each time doing it. Okay, then what is work rate? How can we work faster? And that is volume times leverage. Output per unit of time. So it's about effectiveness. Doing what works and doing more of that consistently over time. So by doing so, you can put in less effort, less time, and get more out of the time invested. And the exact same accounts for the gym. After 10 years, I'm able to make more gains, more progress at what people would rank to be an elite level than beginners, simply by training 45 minutes per session 4 times per week. Whereas some beginners would put in 3-4 times the amount and don't get the amount of results. Why is that? How is that possible? Optimization, leveraging what I'm doing, increasing the output in the time that I spend doing it, working or training smarter, more efficient. And in fitness, that means applying greater knowledge. Do that for a longer period of time and you will get more results. And then with enough knowledge, you know how to change up your plan, because you need a solid, concrete plan based on how your priorities, how your lifestyle, how your circumstances are constantly shifting. So you know how to adjust what you are doing to still get the most out of the least, to get the most output out of the least input. So you can constantly keep leveraging, which leads to the next point. More is not better. I used to always think that if I would just put in more and more time and more sets, 5 times per week is better than 4, 6 times per week is best, more is better, then I would get better results. And that's not the case, because in training volume, it's not about how much you can do, but doing the most amount that you can still recover from. And this means balancing your total workload capacity plus recovery capacity versus the actual workload that you are doing. Alright? This is step number 1 in training. In nutrition is energy in versus out, calorie balance, right? Energy balance. And in training it's this. So you can constantly keep progressively overloading and making progress. No matter how much input, it's about output. And that is different based on many factors, right? So what is your entire workload capacity? Everything you do is a form of stress, right? So working is a form of stress, eating processed food is a form of stress, alcohol, drugs, anything form of stress. Training itself is a physical form of stress on your body. Mental stress itself is a form of stress. All these things combined. Then versus the amount of recovery capacity you are doing. So how good is your lifestyle? How good are all your recovery factors? And then how advanced is each of your muscle groups? Because that is also different. And that eventually leads to the amount of total workload, total volume each muscle group can do. So what works for you might not work for somebody else. Simple analogy, when I started training, I was looking into guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Golden Era, and I was like, okay, if I want to look like Arnold, I need to train like Arnold. So I would start doing what he was doing. But based on what I just said, you now know that that's not gonna work out, right? If you would look into marathon runners, let's say you want to become a long distance runner and you've never ran before, ever in your life, or you're absolute beginner level, then you wouldn't do the training that the fastest guy in the most recent marathon in Tokyo would run. That's common sense, because you can't do that amount. You can't run that far, you can't run that fast, right? You need to start slower, start lower, and increase over time. What someone's doing at level 10 is not working for me at level 1. And that's exactly the same in the gym. However, in the gym, everyone does those things. They're looking for shortcuts. Give me a meal plan, give me a training plan. I'm gonna train like that guy. If I just do what he does, I'll just be like him. But it's the same thing. That guy's at level 10 and I'm at level 1. So how am I gonna be able to get there? It's not gonna work for me, because the recovery capacity with actual workload and workload capacity is not in balance, right? So I can't recover from that amount. I'm not at that level. My lifestyle is not the same as his. My muscles are not as advanced as his, so it's not gonna work for me. Because again, it's about doing the most amount that you can still recover from, and that's totally different for a guy at level 10 compared to a guy at level 1. You need something that fits with you, with your unique situation, your level of advancement, your lifestyle, so you can leverage what you're doing, get the most out of the least effort and time spent doing it. So really the number one piece of advice I could give you if I had to start all over again is get a knowledgeable coach and learn from him, because I could have saved 6 years of my training lifting career if I had started with a coach straight away. The reason why I didn't at first is because I thought that if I would take on a coach, I wouldn't be self-made, I wouldn't be allowed to take all the credit for all the results and the input that I would put in. But that's also not true, right? Together, you're stronger than solo. The reason why Homo sapiens, us, defeated the Neanderthalers, the other like human species back in the day, is because we had an ability to cooperate and strategize. They were physically much stronger than us, but they weren't as smart as us. So we worked together, and that was the only way to defeat them. We are made to cooperate, we are made to communicate, made to cooperate. That's how we grow faster. A lone wolf is always going to be less effective, make less progress in anything than someone who works in packs and works together. And with a coach, you can still take all the credit, because a coach can only help and teach. But you still need to put in the fork in your mouth yourself. You still need to lift the dumbbell yourself. There's still gonna be obstacles that you need to overcome, because there's gonna be things that mean stepping out of the comfort zone for you, and you need to be able to overcome those things. You can have help, but you are the one doing it, so you're still allowed to take all the credit, because without your input, there is no output. It's all about applying better knowledge, so you can get more output out of less input. Some client of mine said the other day, man, I've been training for 5 years, bit on and off, but I made with you now in the last 3 months more progress than I did ever before in all those years. And I've always been putting in all that time. Isn't it like the dumbest thing? And yes, I agree. Because, you know, if you're already putting in the time, other than the intrinsic positive motivational stuff that I told you in the beginning that makes you feel good, and the endorphins and all those things, why not just get the results as well? And eventually he only had to do less. He trained less. He could eat more of the things that he wanted to eat because of knowledge. It's not about limiting and restricting. Optimization is not about living more and more like a monk. It's about leveraging so you can get more output in less input. Another thing, the monk approach is not sustainable, right? You can maybe stick to one meal plan from A to Z, Monday to Sunday, you have to eat this for a short period of time, but it's not going to be sustainable. And if you hop off doing that, if you go on vacation, if you go partying, or you can't eat and eat out, and if you can't stick to that plan, then you're going to be in the same position once again, and you're going to lose all your results. You need something that's sustainable over a long period of time. And that's another thing with fitness/bodybuilding. If you get to your destination, if you reach your result, you're never done. It's not something you buy and then it's like finished. It's something that needs to be maintained every day. It's rent that's due every day. And that's the same with anything else. If you have a relationship, you can maybe get in shape and get that girl, but you're still gonna be the same person that got her in the first place in order to be able to maintain it. Same with business. You can get rich, but you still need to stay rich. In order to stay rich, you need to continuously keep doing those things that you've been doing. Everything is rented, nothing is bought, and rent is due every single day. So you need to have a sustainable approach in fitness, so you can keep paying the rent and keep the results that you've gotten. And all you need for that is knowledge to find a way that works for you. Thank you for your time. If it was valuable, like, subscribe, let me know what you thought about it, share your thoughts. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comment section, I will reply there. And if it needs more context, then I will just write it down and I'll turn it into another Q&A video. Thanks for your time, enjoy your day, stay strong, and see you in the next video.